What's up, everybody? We are on episode 3 of Set Point Sessions, and today it's a special episode. It is the first of hopefully so many. I'm gonna let Andrew talk about what we're doing that's so special on this episode.
Yeah, our first guest, Drew Smith, Olathe Northwest tennis coach. Oh my gosh, how do I even list the accolades? 2024 Girls State Tennis Coach of the Year in the state of Kansas. Overall, that's not just 6A. Overall, two-time defending 6A girls tennis team champions, and how many individual state champs have you coached? Two. You had the singles and
Two
the
singles
doubles
and
champ
doubles.
last year. In a relatively short coaching career. So Drew Smith, honored to have you on as our first guest, and racking up the accolades in a short coaching career. So we are
Yeah.
super pumped to have you on. Welcome.
First time listener, long time caller. I'm really excited to
Yeah,
be
there you
here.
go.
Uh, I think between the three of us, we've got the last four 6A coaches of the year.
Yeah.
Me three times, and you.
Yeah, there you go. Love
What
it.
about
And
assistant coach of the year? Is that factored in here? And
I
you
think
know,
that you're probably like the long time running assistant coach of the year.
back to back to back,
Yeah.
break, back to back to
Back
back
to
kind of
back.
thing.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah,
they do
for
that for
sure.
other sports. I'm surprised they don't do it for tennis.
Yeah.
Do they
Maybe we'll have
actually?
to start it.
Because I need to talk to the director of Keisha Tennis. Because I need this because I can see a Joel Johns, being a sneaky pick to win this title. Well, what we're going to do today is we're just going to talk a lot about pressure type situations. I think Drew is a great person to talk to about being in these positions and all these accolades that he has. We're going to talk about strategies to use when a person's feeling pressure. It doesn't have to apply just to tennis, can be anything in general, but that's kind of what we're going to do today. So we're going to get started and kind of define what pressure is. In my opinion, it's the physical and mental response to any given situation. We talk a lot as coaches about it being in an athletic situation, but this can be in a school setting or a friend's family type setting. There's pressure really involved with anything that anybody ever does. And another thing I wanted to add was that it's often tied to expectations and or consequences. So
That's what
that's
I'm
kind of
saying.
a big way to say that when we're feeling pressure, we feel like there needs to be a specific outcome that happens, and we're not really thinking so much as whatever happens happens. We're thinking it has to be this way, and if it's this other way, it's a failure.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna throw in was the that we don't have pressure put on us unless there are consequences and or expectations. If I think that I need to do something, or maybe it's not even pressure from me, maybe it's outside pressure. If my parents think that I need to achieve something, or coaches, or somebody like that, that's when pressure can really creep into the mind.
I'm right there with you guys. Like the pressure is expectations based, and if you don't have uh, an expectation, then you're not going to feel like you need to do anything special.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. I think we see that a lot as Andrew, you mentioned the parents and kind of outside expectations. I think you guys coach varsity, obviously, and I'm more of a JV coach, but it's everywhere in high school tennis, outside expectations.
Yeah. More pressure than other people realize, like people that aren't directly involved in the
Yeah.
athletics.
One of the things that I loved about pressure growing up, being in those types of situations, it's so easy to think that it's a negative type situation, right? We get really worked up and really tense and really tight, and there's a lot of negative emotions and negative feelings to that. But it's not, it doesn't always have to be negative. There's some players out there who perform extremely well under pressure. I think it's kind of like a perception thing of how you view that pressure and what it does for your game.
Yeah, I mean I agree. I think that every athlete handles those situations differently. I do think that there's a way to learn and get better about handling the pressure. Some of it is just kind of who you are as a person, and one of those instinctive attributes or qualities. But I do think there is a way to learn and put yourself into those situations to be able to get better over time.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like a mindset thing. Like, you know, I looked up some great pull quotes today. So, you know, there's Billie Jean King, our, you know, tennis
Yeah.
goddess, with the pressure is a privilege, you know, that like and it truly is. I mean, and I talk about that with my girls all the time, that there are some great expectations on our team, and that applies a lot of pressure. And
Yeah.
being in that spot is a privilege. I mean, I have coached some teams that are not as good, and there isn't the pressure to go do those great things. And you know, to an extent, it's like, well, yeah, it's great to play with no pressure, but it's also great that people are expecting some of these great things from you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Drew, that kind of takes me into at least my first question. Um, what do some of those conversations that you have with your players, either individual player conversations or like with your group and your team as a whole? I know that you guys have had um, a long history, especially with the girls, of having some really quality players that are competing at the top level. And I was just wondering if you have those intentional conversations, and if so, what do they look like?
Yeah, I mean, we lay out kind of our expectations about, you know, I'm a huge like paralysis by analysis kind of guy. Like I
Mm,
will look at
yeah.
matchups and look at results until the cows come home, and to try to figure out, you know, where my kids should be, and
Yeah.
really there always ends up coming down to just a handful of matches for any kid that are those like coin flip, like I gotta have a good day, they've got to have a bad day, or on a good day maybe I can you know, win. And so to me, so much of it is laying out expectation, like what do we reasonably want to achieve here, and
Hmm.
when we
Yeah.
get into those handful of coin flip matches, how do we prepare for that? How do we best prepare? I listened to the first couple episodes of this pod, and really liked Andrew's conversation with that player of like preparing for like something very specific, that very specific tough mental, you know, head game kind of match. So there are those handful of things that we really do prepare for, of like, this one on paper is a coin flip, what do
Hmm.
we have to do to 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 win that one, because that's the going to be the critical one.
Yeah.
You had mentioned that conversation Andrew had with that player. I think that's what really made the difference in that match and in his head throughout that week leading up to it, of just the preparation. So pressure is not something that you can just kind of jump into and be told something and figure it out. You have to know how to handle that situation when it comes up before it comes up. And that's, I mean, I think that's what a good coach does, is put a player into a position to comfortably handle those types of pressure situations.
Well, and I'll be honest, like I don't have the tennis pedigree that you guys do. Like I I was a decent varsity tennis player. If the state tournament was the current format, I would have qualified for state a couple times. But I wasn't going to be a, you know, a top four guy like you guys were. And I, you know, never was a USTA guy. So I don't have firsthand knowledge really of the head games, the mental side.
Right.
So for me, a lot of it is making sure that my players are exposed to those situations during the season,
Mm.
so that I can learn with them. Like, oh, this is how you respond to pressure. I mean, I like I had a very good player on my girls team this year that hadn't really been challenged other than getting blown out a couple times, but got into a tough, tight match, and it was the first time I'd ever seen her go through that, and it
Yeah.
I didn't know how to help her in that moment. I
Yeah.
had an idea and I came up with something, and it worked a little bit, but not enough to have her win the match. But got a repeat of that match at state, and this time we had both been through that together. It was same two girls playing each other.
Yep.
This time we had both been through it together, so I had a much better idea of what that approach was. And it's like, you know,
Yeah.
to an extent, that's what the regular season is for. It's a learning experience. But
Yep.
I think as a tennis coach, it's like it's hard because you have to see it's such an individual process of what pressure looks like, what that response to it is going to look like. And so you have to see kids go through that to learn what works for them.
Yeah. No, I can completely relate to that with when new players come to my varsity team, whether it's, aging up from JV or, just new to the program and happens to be good enough to be in my varsity group. How can I coach that player? How is that player going to respond to me? How is that player going to respond in pressure situations? What does that player really interpret as pressure situation, right? Because each player is going to interpret that differently. I might not think that this is a high pressure match or it's a high pressure situation on a changeover. But if a player comes to me and they're shaking, nervous, and I can hear it in their voice, it's like, okay, now I need to kind of change my approach and listen to the player, learn what they're thinking, learn how to talk to them. And like you said, we're kind of learning together through that pressure situation, and she or he, that player, is probably trying to learn how to play under those kinds of situations. I'm learning how to talk to that player effectively during those situations, and yeah, that I can definitely relate to that.
I think having a coach who can recognize when a player's feeling pressure without them even realizing that maybe they're feeling pressure, and being able to kind of talk them through that process is incredibly important. Like there's some situations that players are in, right, where this is obviously a pressure situation. This is a match at state, or this is a match for whatever. But then there's sometimes that maybe the player is just feeling pressure because their parents are watching or because their boyfriend or girlfriend are here, and they might not recognize that. The person across the net might not feel the same pressure, but this person definitely is. Which kind of brings me to my next point about pressure, is the feeling of anxiety versus the feeling of excitement. I think in pressure scenarios, we get to feeling one of those two things, right? We're either really excited about the opportunity to go out there and show ourselves, or we're a little anxious that we're going to fail. And one of the things that really stood out to me from a book I read a while ago is that your physical reaction to excitement is the exact same physical reaction as it is to anxiety. Elevated heart rate,
Yep.
sweaty palms, whatever it may be. Everybody kind of experiences it differently, but the difference is in the way that the person views it. It's in the perspective of the person. That is just, I never thought of it that way. You are making the choice to either be nervous and anxious for something, which is very negative and kind of not good, or you can make the choice to be excited and ready to perform and handle that pressure situation.
Yeah, I feel like it's that fight or flight response, and like you either gotta step up to the moment and embrace it, or you kind of collapse in on yourself and you don't know how to handle it, and that's you're running away. So
Mhm.
it's exactly right. Same stuff. It's just how do you handle it?
And we've
Yeah.
seen it as coaches. Well, hey, we've
Oh yeah.
seen both ends of the spectrum there, of somebody who steps up and also somebody who crumbles.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. There's
Oh,
now four that are listed.
Oh
So
wow.
freeze is obviously that's pretty self-explanatory. And fawn I had to read more on. Fawn is like where you kind of give in to where you become basically complacent. So, you're under pressure and you go, they're a senior.
Yeah.
I'll let them have this one. Like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. So you're kind of you're escaping. It's not flight because you're not
Yeah.
running
Kind of like
away, but you're sort of,
rationalizing almost.
yeah, you're like complicit in losing a match. Like
Yeah.
you're rationalizing losing that match.
Hmm.
that's awesome. I didn't know that. I didn't know
I
there was
I
two
didn't
new
know.
F words that have been added.
Well, yeah, there's a few more that could be, but I didn't. Hey, this is why you take notes, kids. I
That's right.
literally didn't know that until today when I was doing some research for the pod. All right,
Incredible.
I don't
We
want to
are
mess
just
up my first pod experience here.
There you go.
educating the youth of America through
Heck
through
yeah,
podcasting, and the adults of America. I guess.
yeah.
Shoot, I I, I learned something new today too. Expectations. This is huge for I think for high school athletes, high school students, high school age people. I think it can go into college as well. Um, Internal, external expectations. This can come from so many different areas. Themselves, the person alone, coaches, parents, teammates. I think there's so many others that we could talk about. But I kind of want to get your guys' opinions on expectations that the kids put on themselves, that they get, parents put on them, whatever it may be, and how that kind of helps or doesn't help their performance.
I think that the pressure regarding expectations um, can either be rooted in realism, or call it fantasy. I don't know.
It's great.
But like there are certain expectations. Like Drew does a really good job with his players, and talking about, okay, you know realistically we should be finishing in this tournament somewhere in the third through fifth range, depending on maybe how one or two matches goes. Um, but then if a player has parents on the outside or other people talking to them that have the unrealistic expectation that they can beat certain players and that they should be taking first place in this tournament, well, then that puts an unrealistic set of pressure on that player. Um, and so sometimes, I don't know if it's a struggle, but it's just something that you have to handle as a coach, is the interaction between players and their own crew, whether it's parents or coaches or friends or whoever that may be talking to them and sharing certain thoughts, um, that maybe they don't have all of the information that you have as the coach, or maybe they don't have the experience that you have as the coach, or I don't know, whatever the situation might be. But when they try to feed your players unrealistic expectations, that puts that fantasy pressure on them that shouldn't be there, and really can kind of hinder their performance. Um, where when you're talking, okay, maybe we're probably not winning this match, but we can play well. We can compete hard. We can still try to get better. We've talked about that on previous episodes, but there just has to be, I think, the realistic expectations to give the correct and the appropriate amount and type of pressure in any given situation. Drew, I don't know what you think.
Yeah, I've never coached other sports. I don't know how much parents and people are in kids' ears in other sports, but in tennis, I feel like there's so much of like people's coaches and parents, or sometimes it's the same person, think that they are God's gift to tennis.
Right.
And and the reality is that there are a lot of very good tennis players that are all trying to do the same thing. And so that's why I set those realistic goals. I mean, I'm already talking to my varsity girls about next season to lay out, hey, here's who's graduating. Do you guys know who's coming in? So that we can try to figure out, like, realistically, where what's our goal? What's our realistic goal? So that
Yeah.
if you have this goal, let's start preparing now. Tennis is not an overnight sport.
Right.
I feel like with the rise of pickleball has given this, so many students are like, oh, I'm good at pickleball, I'm going to come out for tennis. I'm like, well, good
Yeah.
luck.
Yeah.
Um,
Don't even bother.
tennis is not an overnight sport. Like, my goal with my top level players is during the season to make them not get worse. Like,
Yeah.
really, like, because all of a sudden they're going from taking private lessons or group lessons with exclusively kids of the same caliber to hitting with, at our practices, number one hits with number 28. Like,
Right.
they all play together. And so my goal is for them to not get worse. So we lay out these expectations so that starting in November, they can start working toward achieving those goals. And so that when they hear expectations, when they hear outside voices, they're hearing mine too. And hopefully based on experience and results and me going, hey, I think you're going to get third through fifth at state, and then you got fourth. It's like, oh,
Look at that.
maybe Coach Smith knows what he's talking about.
Yep. Yeah.
even if he wasn't even if he's not a professional coach or whatever. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think getting those expectations early and often, and being realistic with kids of like, if you want to get here, this is what you got to do. You can't complain about results if you didn't prepare appropriately.
Yeah.
And right now, I'm trying to get better at golf, and for a while,
Me
golf,
too, man. For years.
yes,
For years.
golf frustrated me so much for so long because it's a hard sport and it is something where if you do not play regularly, you have no right to complain about being bad
Yeah.
at it. And so I finally got over that in my head that I was like, oh, well, if I play once every 2 weeks, this is how good I'm going to be, and I have to be okay with that. If I want to be a professional golfer, I I can't afford it, but if I want to be a professional golfer, like I need to do more preparation. So setting those realistic expectations is such a huge thing.
You mentioned goals, and I talk to all my clients about setting goals and setting realistic goals. I think expectations begin with goals. If you set unrealistic goals, you're going to have unrealistic expectations. Um, I think it highlights the importance of setting good goals because it kind of lays a groundwork for things that are going to happen down the road. Um, and so making sure that your goals are aligned with what, like Andrew said, a realistic vision, I think keeps athletes and players in a good mental headspace, so to speak. What about when those expectations, those goals, whatever it may be, aren't realistic, right? Like I think we can all think of some athletes who might live their lives in a fantasy expectation world, and they just can't get out of it. How do you, as coaches, work with that? Keep them grounded, keep them trying to be more realistic. How's that look?
Well, I think it's kind of a tough love situation in my book. You kind of gotta give them a shot at whatever they think that their goal is, or if they think that they're better than whatever player, or they think that they should get whatever place in a tournament, give them a shot. And if they do it, great. If they can beat that player, then awesome. Then maybe I need to change my expectations of that player. But then if they don't, then it's like, okay, well, you had your opportunity. We gave it our best shot. Maybe we need to adjust our expectations, or we need to adjust our game plan going into the next match, next opportunity against that player. And sometimes a game plan adjustment isn't going to be enough. And we've talked about that competition zone. I spoke about that last week, like where maybe that player is just too far outside of your competition zone, and you're probably not winning that match. And sometimes those are hard conversations to have. But I think it's a little bit better of a conversation to have after they have a result that has a tangible score that you only got 2 games. You lost 8-2 to this player. I don't think that you're in the same realm. Maybe we need to adjust our expectations and our goals a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think tennis is a great, uh, example of this because it's such an objective sport. Like,
Yeah.
there's not like, oh, did the offense flow better with that kid on the field? Like, no, it's like, did you beat him?
Right.
No, you lost 8-2. Like, I
Yeah.
just there's not a lot I can do about that. Nothing brings a kid down to earth like losing.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
so, I mean, as a coach, I overschedule for my varsity because I want some of those kids that are on the fringe to get a shot to see like, oh, I'm pretty good, but there's a reason I'm not up here. You
Right.
know? Yeah.
Overscheduling is a good, just kind of a tangent on that. I think it's a good thing to do when you have that group of players and like you're just below your top 6 that are still able to compete, to show them what that next level looks like, what some of the top players actually are. If they're not, obviously you guys have the benefit of having some of those top players on your team, but if they weren't on your team, to show them what that next level is. I always like the opportunity. Well, it's a good and a bad thing when you have players that are sick or unavailable for certain tournaments. But I love bringing my JV girls or my JV boys to a varsity tournament so that they can get a taste of what comes next, what that next level actually looks like, get your butt kicked by somebody who's really, really good, and then maybe bring your expectations down to where maybe they should be, but then also a different conversation would be um, lighting the fire for the future, and and planting the seed of hard work over the off season to try and get to that level and be able to compete a little bit better the next time or next season or whatever. So
Yeah, I mean,
I love that opportunity for those
it,
kids.
it can be both of those things. Like
Yeah,
you can bring a kid's expectations down, but spin it into a positive, like you said, and like say, hey, you've seen what that looks like now. Now let's
yeah,
go get to work. Let's go get to work and get you up to that level for next year because we need you.
yeah,
Drew, I'm sure you have that conversation with your kids, but I think that's one thing that Andrew does a really good job of is encouraging that, like, oh, you got a taste of it, like a couple years ago when the girls got second at league, or even when we won the city championship, or whatever it was, where this is what is on the table, and now it's up to you if you want to, have another shot at this. If you want another go, it's up to you. Work hard in the off season. I think that's just, what a good coach does for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we were really fortunate the last couple of years, and that's why I was so confident coming into this season because I had some girls that weren't in the top six, and got they got looks last year, and so they knew what it took, and they knew that they were. I knew they were going to work hard. I trusted them to go put in that work, and we had three girls who were JV last season. I mean, they were my 8, 9, and 10 last season, and one of them was fourth at state in doubles this year, and the other two were state qualifiers in doubles, and were
yeah.
one round shy of medaling. And so, like, I mean, it's just that giving that exposure can help moderate some of that stuff, can motivate. Like, I mean, I wish I could come up with a third M word to be
Yeah.
catchy. Yeah.
I love it. Let's get back to talking about pressure a little bit. One thing that I like to do on here is give tangible, actual examples that athletes, students can use on a day-to-day basis when they are approached with whatever type of situation it is. One thing, and Andrew, I don't know if you remember this conversation we had. Uh, it was at some meet. I was at a varsity meet with you, and I saw the kids touching the fence with their racket. And I was so like almost after every point, and I was so confused because I'd never seen that before in my life. Like, what are they doing? Is like there's something on the fence? What's going on? Um, that's kind of like a mental reset, right?
Yeah, it's one of the club coaching strategies that a lot of the top level players have picked up, where if you're going through a tough couple points mentally, or you just need that reset, the players walk to the back fence and touch the fence with their racket. Usually, sometimes it's with their hand. Put the bat away and reset as you walk up to the line, getting ready for the next point. I
It says
assume that Coach Smith here has some notes. He's showing something to the camera, so go
it
ahead.
said between point fence touch. I literally wrote that down in my notes.
There you
I
Uh,
love
go.
it.
the
Great
girl
minds.
who won state this year did that.
Yeah.
6A state champ between point, just a little fence touch, and you would see, and you when you watched her play, you would see her take this big exhale. She would touch the fence, turn around, and she was ready to go.
Yeah.
That's incredible. That is the kind of strategies that I like to give to people, right? Something that they can put into practice and utilize. For Andrew and I growing up, it was your strings, adjusting your strings, because when you're hitting and you lose some tension, those strings get a little janky. Our coach always told us, take a moment, breathe, put those strings where you want them to be, and then reset and focus on the next point. That always helped me. I love this touching the fence thing. I think that's huge, but
Yeah.
that was just the old
Austin,
school reset method.
Austin, I don't know if you remember. I think it was the same coach, um, but another tool that he gave, and I've talked to some players about it, is no matter where you're at on the court to finish the previous point, you got to walk to your spot for the next point, and in your head, mentally cut that distance into thirds,
Mm,
and the first third, and you can walk as fast or as slow as you need to between point A and point B, but the first third is reflection on the previous point, what you did well, what you did poorly, how it went, good, bad, whatever. The middle third is the breathing, the mental reset, clear your head, and the last third is the prep for the next point. What do I need to do? Where am I going to serve the first serve? What if I'm hitting returns? Am I anticipating a forehand or a backhand return, and what I'm going to do to start the next point? So I really like that, cutting your recovery into thirds to dwell and reflect. Give yourself a little bit of time to feel that emotion, positive or negative, but then also be intentional about getting rid of that emotion and not carrying it into the next point.
Every point's worth one in tennis, right? Like
That's
it's not like basketball, football, where you have different point values. You win 1 point, you lose the next one, you're tied. Being able to let the previous points go and focus on the next ones and stack those points on top of each other is incredibly huge as an athlete. Drew, you got anything?
Oh yeah. So for me, I've been very fortunate the last few years that I've had some very good players. So instead of just being able to put together, you know, the second and third best girl on the team, your doubles team, I've actually been able to look at some chemistry things and the way that the girls interact with each other, and literally, asking them afterwards, like, hey, which who do you like playing with? Like what? How's the vibe? And we had one doubles team that and we forgot about the strategy at state, and they didn't medal. Was their strategy was smiles and skips. That that in between. I mean, like that. Literally, they were not allowed to. They were not allowed to be pouty. They were going to smile, and when they were going from one spot to another, when they were coming to talk to me at the fence, they would skip, because
Yeah.
I don't know if you've
I love
tried.
it.
It is impossible to frown and skip at the same time. You're gonna be happy.
You
Um,
can't.
Andrew,
You
I
can't
think
be.
demonstration.
no,
Yeah, you
well,
can't
I
be.
don't have enough. There's not enough room in here.
You can't be pissed off and skip at the same time. It just
Right?
doesn't
Yeah,
work.
exactly. I mean, and my both of my doubles teams, and I always encourage this, is like, I do not care what happened on the previous point. You are going to say good job or something positive, and you are going to high five each other or tap rackets. Something like, if your partner double faults, you give them encouragement. You high five them. You say go get it the next time. Singles is a little bit tougher of an animal, but usually your singles players are your best players, who are a little bit mentally tougher anyway. I had a singles player that one time on changeover, I was like, oh, I don't want to put too much pressure on you, and she goes, I love pressure. And I was like, okay.
Whoa.
So I was like, oh, okay, here we
All
go.
right.
So then I was like, all right, you better go win that. You better go get two. Go win your serve. Go get a break. I want you to be up one after this changeover, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, the racket, between point fence touch is huge. Um, I'll get a little long-winded here, but our former colleague and predecessor, I think for both of us, John Renberger, was my high school tennis coach.
Oh, nice.
And on rainy days, we would run and we would watch instructional videos. And one of the videos I remember was the corniest thing I'd ever seen, because this girl, it was like, use a verbal cue to set you up for the next point. And so she was sitting there at the baseline getting ready to serve. She bounced the ball, and she out loud said fire. And then she tossed it up and served. And of course, a bunch of 17-year-old boys, we just think it's like the dumbest thing we've ever heard. But I really like whatever the word is, boil it down to one thing you can tell yourself to, like, ready for that next point. So, like, for me, when I'm struggling with my serve, my word is up, because I always, like, I have to think about, like, up, and it's not about, like, oh, I gotta hit the ball better. It's not make your serve. It's not something that's adding pressure. It's just a thought. I
Yeah.
mentioned I'm trying to get better at golf. My dad sent me this golf video that it was a mental performance coach. Austin, I thought of you when my dad sent me this
Ah,
video. I'll send it to you. Um,
please.
but basically, the gist of the advice was, after a swing, you need to say something factual or positive, not a negative thought. And I jokingly told my dad, it's a fact that I'm terrible. But I played golf yesterday. I was having kind of a mediocre round, and halfway through, I started to say things like, I need to close the club face, or something factual, constructive, that like then I did that and I improved and I shot a ton better the second half of the round because I got out of my head. I wasn't thinking, "Oh, you're so horrible." So trying to give those little cues. I mean, it's so individualized. Finding one thing that will click with every kid is so big, and that mental reset.
I really like that one word reset. That that you can have your players and you know talk to your players outside of the court, you know, whether it's at practice or in between matches or whatever, where you can come up with something that they can tell themselves in between points, whether it's serving, returning, or not related to that at all. But that one word reset, it's you know hard to forget it, and maybe it encompasses more than just one thing. But I really like that. That's good.
That's something I'm working with one of my clients on, is having a cue word. When start to feel the pressure, have a word that kind of just locks you into that moment, whatever it is that you can just focus on. Maybe it's feet, maybe like, she's a wrestler, so it's maybe you're trying to attack the other person's feet, and that's the word you got to focus on. There's just so many different words that can mean so many different things to other people, but finding that one word is huge. What, Drew, you were talking about, saying a positive thing. I learned a long time ago, I think it was at the beginning of my first college courses, a compliment sandwich is what somebody worded it as. So I'm all for feeling negative emotions. It's natural. It's a common thing, but being able to replace those or outweigh them with positive thought processes. So if you're going to say something bad or something negative, say it, but make sure you say something positive first, then say the negative thing, and then say one more positive thing. So when when things are all said and done, you've now given yourself two things that are positive to think about and one negative thing, and you started and ended with positive thoughts. That's where you want your thought processes to go. So another thing that stood out to me that I want to make a point on is um, you were talking about the double strategy, Andrew, of talking about splitting it up into thirds. It's easier to have somebody there walking you through it who knows what they're doing. I remember so many times Andrew saying, "Walk with me," and whether there was a ball on the third court and we had to go get it,
Yeah.
take your time, reset, walk down there, and bring your partner with you. Take them with you, even if they're not struggling, and reset together, because that's what it's really doubles focus. You can't really do it in singles, obviously, but um, go as a team. Do everything together as a team, because if you're split up, divided, one person's playing good, person's playing bad, whatever it may be, that's going to affect both people. You kind of got to do everything as a team. So I think any of these strategies, if you're in a team sport, do it together. Do it as a group.
Dad used to tell us to be attached at the hip.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
when you're walking in between points and doing whatever, be attached at the hip. Go get a ball together, and
Yeah.
go talk through it together. Experience those emotions, the ups, the downs, the communication to each other, and that way, one person who may be on a downward spiral isn't just spiraling in their own head.
Yeah.
You've got
Yeah.
the other person, that buffer of emotion there with you to either pick you back up or calm you down or whatever you need. It's not just all within your own self. You've got that other person.
How many times as coaches do we, like in a double situation, when our team is playing somebody and one person on that team is not playing well, and our strategy is hit it to the person who's having a bad day, right? And
Yeah.
their partner doesn't, is just kind of like, screw this, like you suck. Like they figured it out, right? How different could that be if those two people worked together as a unit, picked each other up, had those conversations, used some of these strategies, and performed better as a team.
Yeah.
So another thing that I had was the two of them, breathing techniques and body language, in terms of the mental side of things and the reset strategies. It's really easy to get negative body language. How do we reset that? And then breathing techniques used as a tool to reset ourselves.
I'm one of the very few tennis coaches in high school, I think, that study film of my players, and we have film sessions on Ray nowadays, and we don't watch the corny instructional videos, but we watch instructional videos of us playing
We
tennis.
should. I think we need to bring those
Maybe,
back.
maybe we need to. Maybe we need to bring those back. But one of the things that you see from watching yourself play tennis is what you're doing between points. And a lot of people don't think about that. That's not a conscious thought. They're looking at what, studying what's happening during points. Um, but body language is so huge. And I had a player this past fall. I was like, look at like what you're acting very poorly in between points. And that player was like, yeah, I didn't realize that I did that. Like, well, now you do. And look how pouty it looks. Like, you're not handling losing very well. And it, like, just to be able to see it on camera is one thing. Um, but if you don't have that opportunity or the resources to film yourself playing matches, you've got to be aware of it. You got to be, knowing what your thoughts are, and then knowing how those thoughts are manifesting themselves physically in your reactions to things. So
I think that's such a huge tool because when we, like, as tennis coaches, we are so distracted. If you're lucky, you've got 4 kids playing on 4 adjacent courts.
yeah,
If you're not lucky, then you've got kids on at CBAC like 1 and 12 and 4 and 9,
yeah,
and you're just heads on a swivel just trying to keep track of score, much less you turn away and don't look at the in between point stuff, unless you're in like a really tight, really important match. And I talked about the kind of rematch of a player earlier this season where we turned it around the second time, and one of the big things was our body language, how we handled the in between, the changeovers especially was a huge thing that um, my player thought that she was doing one thing and kind of controlling the timing of the match and kind of making the other girl play on her timeline. But what I made her realize is, well, it actually looks like you're tired, and it looks like you need more time. So we changed that strategy where there was no sitting on changeovers. It was the third set of a 3-hour match. You're not sitting down. I do not care. You're not sitting down. You're going to come talk to me, and then go get your water, whatever. You don't have to say anything. You can just breathe. But we're going to make it look like you are a bull getting ready to buck that cowboy off. How you're going to exert control over this match is by looking like, I don't care. I don't care if you're ready or not. I'm ready. Unlike what she was doing previously. So yeah, it's a huge mental thing of like just getting that control.
when you say that, it
Absolutely.
reminds me in the tennis world of Rafa Nadal. Like just that physical
Yes.
readiness, no
Yes.
matter what point in the match it is. I'm here, I'm ready, I'm down, ready for your return, whether you're still toweling off or whatever. And like third set of a 3-hour match, Rafa Nadal's in the fifth set of a 5-hour match, and he's doing the same thing, where it's I'm down, I'm ready. My physical preparation is the same now as it was on the first point of the match. And I think that like mentally that message that you're sending to your opponent is huge.
His logo is a bull. It's funny
Oh,
that
yes,
Drew
yeah.
compares that.
He's picking a wedgie between every point, no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah. Talk about a routine, huh? Every single time. Drew, this question is for you. As a coach, how do you model composure in pressure situations? Or do you have anything that, because us coaches feel the pressure from the outside, how do you model the composure so that way your player doesn't feel like you're nervous and feeling the same pressure?
Um, this one I took a lot of notes on. So when I am probably a really bad role model when I play. And I talked to Andrew about this. I talk about myself in the third person a lot. And I get very frustrated and say, "God, Drew, why'd you do that?" Like, and so, but as a coach, I think I model this calm, like it ain't over. Like, so when girls come to the fence, well, one, when I watch a match, I don't pace around very much. I just kind of stand and watch. I try not to react. Some other coaches in the state might say I'm I'm reactive sometimes, but that's just not knowing rules and things like that. Um, but as far as my players' performance goes, I try to be very calm when they come over. If they're losing a match that we both don't think they should be losing, then we kind of talk about like, well, I don't apply pressure. I'm not stern. I just ask questions. I say, what are they doing well? Like, how are they winning points? And if we're not playing well, a lot of the times the points is, well, or the answer is, we're just making errors. We're losing points. They're not winning points. Or if it's, if it's a little bit higher level match, it might be like, oh, well, she's just killing me with this certain shot, her serve, whatever, her forehand, whatever. And it's like, okay, well, let's make some adjustments. A lot of times I've noticed like, they're not hitting a certain shot. We gave up on our forehand or whatever. We're running around a certain shot or we're afraid of the net, whatever it is. It's just having a conversation with that kid and making them think it was their idea. Like make them feel like we thought about that together. We thought about that solution together. And that this isn't some unfixable problem. It is not doom. It is just like so far they're playing better than we are. Can we fix that? Absolutely we can. We prepared, we have the skills, we just have to trust ourselves. And so I try to be very calm. I try not to get down. I try not to get too up and too intense of like getting in kids' faces. That's just I like to get in adults' faces more. Maybe I guess I don't know. That's but in my experience that just like that like calm trust and like I don't know if that makes sense, but just showing the kids that I trust them. I trust their
Yeah.
preparation. I trust their abilities, and that if they just discover what's missing, they'll be fine.
Andrew, you'll probably remember this. I talked in my class fall today about a situation that I faced as a senior in high school in the regional finals against a dude who was giving me fits. I'm not going to say any names. Andrew knows exactly who I'm talking about. I
I'm gonna look
hated
it
the
up.
dude. I despised this kid. He pissed me off more than anybody in my entire playing career. And I played him in the regional finals my senior year. And if I remember right, I won the first set and I got absolutely demolished the second set. And he was getting under my skin. He was just, oh, I wanted nothing more than to hop over that net and punch him in the face. Like it was that bad. And I'm not usually a violent person, but I remember dad talking to me in between the second and third set, and it pretty much like what Drew's talking about. It was a very calm conversation of what do we need to do? What's not working, and what do we need to do for to change the things around and make it work in our favor, right? And me being the high school senior I am, I'm thinking like, oh, I need to do this and I should do this and we need to stop doing this. But like you said, I'm sure dad had that in his head the entire time. He just kind of planted it in a very calm manner, made me feel like I was in control of the situation, and I go out and beat the kid 6-0 and push him away and I never have to see him again. You know what I'm saying? Like it's the approach of it all. Because if dad would have came out there shaking and nervous and what the hell are you doing? You can beat this kid. Like it's just a whole different conversation based on how the coach handles the pressure of the situation, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. Like that calm collectedness, I think is a huge thing from a coach. And again, every player responds differently.
Yeah.
Austin, I think um, we've talked about it a couple of times, but um, that one I don't even remember what match it was, but we were not playing very well, and Dad had some choice words for us at the fence on a changeover.
You want to tell
I'll,
the listeners what
I'll
he said?
spare our listeners what those words were in specific, um, but like you and I, we were like, oh man,
Oh,
Dad's pretty bad. We
yeah.
better play tennis better.
Yeah. And
And,
we flipped the switch.
and then it worked, and we played better, and we won the match. But
Yeah.
like if he had come to you in that same situation, or come to you with that same
Intensity.
frustration in between your second and third set, that wouldn't have done anything for you, right? That
Yeah.
that would not have reset you. That would not have given you the tools that you needed to come back and win that match. But like every situation is different. Every player interprets things differently. There are certain players that you can kind of get in their face and challenge and push them. Um, and then there are certain players that if you do that, they're going to totally collapse, and that's not the right strategy to use. So,
Yeah.
uh,
Well,
yeah,
and like you just talked about, it might not even be different players. It might
yeah,
be the same player, but it's context, it's like match dependent.
yeah,
Because yeah, there are some occasions like if they're just not playing well, they look, a player looks like they're sleepwalking. Sometimes you got to kind of like light a fire a little bit, and you
yeah,
got to go what are we doing out there? Like this isn't how you guys play. But other times it's like, all right, I can tell they're already feeling that like what's going wrong. I mean, like when you guys weren't playing well, you knew what was going wrong. You were just playing bad.
yeah,
But when Austin's in his singles match getting frustrated by somebody who's just like, doing something that he can't counter, it's like, oh, he needs some actionable advice about like what to do, not just like, I mean, sometimes it's as simple as play better, but
Hmm.
sometimes you got to change a mindset.
yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Real quick to kind of bring us towards the end, Drew, you obviously have a program that um, is pretty successful. And with the success, I feel like pressure kind of comes hand in hand with success. Um, One of the questions I had, or something we wanted to talk about, is how the team culture of, being a successful team, um, how that affects players and how they deal with pressure, being on a team that is so successful. We kind of touched on it earlier, but I kind of want to dive back into it a little bit.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, again, I think it varies depending on your makeup of kids. I mean, the two state championship teams could not have been more different from each other. I mean, they were very different. I mean, we changed four of our six players. We lost four of our six from the first one to the second one. So the dynamic was completely different. The first one was very much like kind of a group of individuals who were successful at tennis. But this year's team, I think because of the expectations we laid, the groundwork we laid of like, well, realistically, none of us are going to go win individual state championships. But together as a team, this is what this looks like. This is what a team state championship looks like. Now, we've all coached kids that say things like, I love doubles or I hate doubles because some kids don't, the team aspect doesn't work for them because they don't want to let people down. And that's part of why they love tennis because tennis is like it's just you just go out there and you play. If you win, great. If you lose, the only person you let down is yourself. But on a team, that dynamic changes. Now there's a bunch of kids that love the team aspect, that like not only is it doubles, but they've got teammates they can cheer for. They've got people there to support them when they off court, in between matches, even on court, they've got people up there cheering for them. So my high school coach, Coach Renberger, to him, tennis was a team. High school tennis is a team sport, and that's how I do it. So we practice. We never have divided practices. I mean, obviously for certain drills we split up, but for a lot of our drills, it's one through the bottom of the ladder are all kind of mixed and matched and playing together. So there's this sort of mutual respect, mutual love, and that there's, I mean, shoot, there's some girls and guys that aren't on varsity that come watch the matches, and that team aspect is something I really like to foster. Um, and I mean, players of all levels are going to benefit from it. If you're going to go play college tennis,
Yeah.
that's a team.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
USTA is not a team. That's a team, and being on a team is huge for understanding. Like, I mean, let's talk about life. In life, are you going to be successful by yourself ever? No.
It's a great
You're
point.
you're always going to depend on other people, and other people are always going to depend on you. And so learning how to face those face those kinds of like expectations from other people, and like, I mean, we did not accumulate points at state the way I thought we would. Now we accumulated enough. We won some matches. I honestly didn't think we were going to win, and so we still won. But seeing that interplay of some kids exceeding their expectations and mine, and some kids falling short of theirs, you could kind of see that there was a but they were all still so excited to be part of that, like that final, those team goals. So yeah, it's such a huge. I love that it's a team sport.
I wanna. I have a kind of a follow up question with that. Like,
Yeah,
we as high school coaches only get to interact with and be with our players during the high school season. So when we are interacting with them, it's all team tennis. Um, but the other 9.5 or 10 months of the year is individual, and they're doing their USTA stuff. Um, do you feel like the pressure that players experience is alleviated or heightened being in a team atmosphere as opposed to individual tennis?
I think early on it is heightened. Like, when they're freshmen and sophomores and they're studs, they come in and they're the cream of the crop, and they lose a match and everyone goes, them? They
Yeah.
they never lose. How'd they lose? What god beat them, you know? And I think when they're young, that pressure can get to them, and the expectations. But then, as players move through and they get used to that team aspect. I mean, we had a player who joined us just for one season, who was a phenomenal player. Her one high school loss was a match she probably shouldn't have lost, but she had this group of people watching her, with saying, "Oh, if we're gonna win this tournament, she needs to win this match." And
Yeah.
that's probably the first time she's ever felt that kind of pressure. There's individual pressure to perform. There's parents and coaches, club coaches saying, "Oh, well, she's
Yeah.
better than that, whatever." But the weight of those team moments is not insignificant, when the
No.
expectations. I mean, when your expectation is to be an individual and team state champion, and you haven't had that experience before.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, good answer. I
powerful.
like it.
Yeah, I have truly enjoyed having Drew on here. Andrew, if you have anything else, you can cut me off. You can
Hey
no.
man, no, this was good conversation. Good back and forth. I enjoyed it.
I love picking coaches' brains, and I'm excited that we're doing this. Like, have a different coach on every month and just kind of talk to them about their strategies, certain things. And I think Drew is a great person. It was a great pick, Andrew. Great choice. A lot of insight, lot of good things coming from Drew. So, Drew, this is you have the floor for the next however many minutes, hours you want it. Say whatever you want to say, whatever you need to say, and then
Well,
we'll wrap it up.
okay, one, your dad is going to be pissed that you guys picked me before you picked him. So sorry,
He
sorry.
probably doesn't even listen to this.
Oh
He
well,
probably doesn't even listen.
well, then I'm glad you're your most dedicated fan. Well, I want to compliment you guys. Thank you guys so much for doing this. You it feels so good to have other coaches who I feel such an affinity with. Like, e- even when we're coaching against each other, it is not animosity. It is respect for, hey, we're going to trust our players. They're going to go do their thing, and whoever wins is the better player for that match. And we're going to shake hands. We're going to high five. We're going to say good match afterwards. And your players are always respectful, and know the rules, and matches with your players never have extra, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. It's just tennis. It's tennis, which is what it should be. I thought of something today that I don't know if it's profound or idiotic, but um, so
Oftentimes it's both.
yeah, here we
Why
go.
not both?
Yeah, and or why not both? Um, Prepare. So my advice to players is to prepare year round, whatever that is. Um, Whether it's school, whether it's tennis, whether it's other sports, you cannot expect to prepare last minute. There's no cram sessions in life. Okay, you cannot expect to prepare last minute and be successful. So in tennis, there's practice, drills, group sessions, in private lessons, and there's match play. This is the part that I'm not so sure about, but let's see if you follow me. They're both important. Drills and group sessions allow you to display your mental approach and improve your physical skills. Matches allow you to display your physical skills and improve your mental approach.
Bang.
I don't
Mic
know.
drop.
I don't know if
That was beautiful.
okay. Now obviously I could talk for 40 minutes on that, but I'll save that for my next appearance next year or whatever. And we'll see if we'll ruminate on that for a while. But yeah, so do both. Play tennis. That's what I tell kids all the time. Just go play, because yeah, go take lessons, whatever. But playing is where you display this. That's where you show what you are here, and where you work, where you improve on the ups and downs. I've had so many players that look great in drills, but when the pressure is on, and when my advice is make the ball, they can't do it.
Yep.
So that you gotta work on this muscle too.
Yep.
That's what we're trying to do. Well, I think, especially in my area of work and what I'm doing for school, it's very apparent how important the mental side of things is. And I think it's becoming more of a thing in recent years, but you can never have too strong of a mental game. There's always work to do. There's always something to be done. And I love that Andrew is in this kind of journey with me, that we're talking about this, that he kind of shares the passion that I do, and that we can kind of hopefully change some lives of these kids, and help them realize it's not just win or loss on the tennis court. It's, how you hold yourself, how you walk off the court, and what you do when you're not at practice, some of the mental things of it all. Um, I would be absolutely remiss if I did not say thank you, Drew. This is awesome. I love this. We'll definitely have you back on so you can explain that quote, because it's gonna take some thinking. I'll probably text Andrew later and say, what did he mean by that?
You can
But
cut it. You can cut it from the pod if it.
okay. I don't even know how to edit this thing. I just copy and paste. But if always at the end, if you've made it this far, if you've listened to us yap, if you need some help with your mental game, check me out. Setpointmentaledge.com, setpointmentaledge on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, everything that the cool kids use. I promise
Spotify.
I'm on it. Spotify. I promise if your friends use it, I use it too. So next month, new coach. We'll figure out who it is. Drew, you kind of set a standard here. So I'm not
There's a
sure
bar. There's a
if
bar, and Kansas State Tennis Coach of the Year right there.
I don't know if Papa David's can top it, but we might have to give him a chance. Maybe. If not him, who knows?
Who
It
knows?
could be you. It could be you, the listener. It could be you. Appreciate you guys. You guys have a great night. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time on Set Point Sessions.